This is WFYI News Now. It's November 27th, and I'm Drew Daudelin, filling in for Abriana Herron. On today's show, why Noblesville closed all of the district schools on Tuesday, how the state is trying to help schools face a growing number of cybersecurity threats, and the future of healthcare in Indiana.
We can't have a healthy and prosperous state without the healthcare workforce needed to keep our state healthy. We're competing with neighboring states on trying to get that talent.
Those stories coming up, but first, Hoosiers will spend slightly less on their Thanksgiving meals compared to last year, according to the Indiana Farm Bureau's annual survey. As Indiana Public Broadcasting's Lauren Chapman reports, prices are still significantly higher than 2019, which experts say is inflation's persistent effect on food prices since the pandemic.
The Indiana Farm Bureau's Thanksgiving Market Basket survey found Hoosier shoppers will spend less on turkeys and pumpkin pie filling than they did last year. But costs are up for cranberries and whipping cream. Todd Davis, Indiana Farm Bureau's chief economist, says this year's marginal savings doesn't make up for the cost of inflation. 2019's dinner total was nearly $10 less expensive than this year's bill.
Compared to where we were 5 years ago, there's still a lot of inflation in the system. And our market basket's about 25% higher than it was 5 years ago.
Indiana shoppers will save nearly $5 compared to the U.S. average for Thanksgiving staples to feed 10 people. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Lauren Chapman.
Noblesville closed all of the district schools on Tuesday after receiving a threat. WFYI education reporter Dylan Piers-McCoy has more.
The district said schools were closing out of an abundance of caution in a post on Facebook. The post said, quote, "While we don't have reason to believe the threat is credible, we take every threat seriously and are working with law enforcement to fully investigate." The threat was made against Noblesville East Middle School. Noblesville schools were already scheduled to be closed Wednesday for Thanksgiving break. I'm Dylan Piers-McCoy.
School districts across Indiana are facing increased cybersecurity threats. As Indiana Public Broadcasting's Kirsten Adair reports, the Indiana Department of Education recently joined a state partnership that aims to educate districts on how to keep school and student data safe.
The partnership is administered by the Consortium for School Networking, or COSIN, a nonprofit that shares cybersecurity safety practices with schools. Lynetta Tai is a data privacy consultant for COSIN. She says the Trusted Learning Environment program provides a free data privacy rubric for districts.
Those privacy requirements might be things like your leadership is engaged around privacy decisions, FERPA and state laws and things of that sort. You have these certain security practices in place. You're providing professional development. You're providing privacy training to your teachers and other employees.
The rubric breaks down cybersecurity into 5 categories with 25 requirements. Schools that complete the requirements receive a seal of distinction. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Kirsten Adair.
And for our final story today, a recent study from Indiana University's Richard M. Fairbanks School of Public Health found that out-of-pocket costs were substantially higher for people in Indiana compared to neighboring states. Several advocacy groups say they're optimistic about Governor-elect Mike Braun's healthcare plans to address that. But as WFYI's Ben Thorpe reports, some groups stress that those measures need to be paired with plans to bolster the state's healthcare workforce.
Mike Braun's healthcare plan includes several strategies for lowering costs and increasing transparency around hospital costs. Luke Messer is the chief executive of the Indiana Business Health Collaborative. He says efforts to bring down costs are good, but need to include workforce initiatives, too.
We can't have a healthy and prosperous state without the healthcare workforce needed to keep our state healthy. We're competing with neighboring states on trying to get that talent.
One tool Messer hopes to see is an increase of in-state medical residency training programs. A recent study by IU has also found that a relative shortage of physicians was driving up both salaries and facility operating costs, something that can contribute to a final bill. I'm Ben Thorpe.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by me, Drew Daudelin, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening, and happy holidays. We're off the rest of the week for Thanksgiving. We'll be back on Monday.